Welcome. We want to take some time now to officially welcome the newest member of our CBS 8 team, Karthik Venkataraman. Karthik, welcome.
Thank you.
So you're going to see him on the final quarter if you watch the CW San Diego, and that is our sports segment. But you've been here for about 3 weeks now. How are you settling into San Diego?
Yeah, everything's been great. It's a beautiful city. You know, it was advertised as this was going to be a very beautiful city when I came, and it's been exactly just that ever since I've been here. I've been really just obviously enjoying work, but, you know, my out time going to the beach or a place like Sunset Cliffs or, you know, trying local eateries or whatever that might be. It's been fantastic.
So where did you move from?
Yeah, I was in Knoxville, Tennessee prior to this. So that's about 2 hours away from my hometown of Bristol, Tennessee, and was there for the last 3 years and a month, and fantastic time there. A lot of fun in that sports town with the University of Tennessee and all their college athletics, and then got the opportunity and blessed to come to a place like this, and here I am.
So I understand that when you first started college, you were looking for a career in biology, which also would have been great here in San Diego. We have a lot of, we have the Scripps Institution, and we have oceanography, but you were thinking, no, I don't want to do that. Why did you change career paths?
Yeah, so I was pretty much going into my senior year of undergrad, which I know is like the perfect time to change your entire
sure,
career
your parents
path.
were thrilled.
Oh, no, they were not. And, you know, it was one of those times where I was just like, I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. I wanted to do something in the medical field, and you know, I always had that like passion and compassion, I guess, to really like care for people, and I wanted, you know, to have some sort of profession doing that. But it just wasn't for me. I don't know. There was just something within me that I was like, as much as I caring about people, I just don't think this is the way in which I do it. So I started thinking of like ways that I could, and everyone had always told me, because I just love sports, they were like, hey, you should try sports journalism. I was like, that's crazy stuff. You don't see Indian people, especially like in that kind of profession, things of that nature. But then I kind of started warming up to the idea. I was like, oh yeah, well that'd be really cool. And maybe like my way that I can kind of like show compassion is telling heartwarming stories and being somebody who's just entertaining and maybe gives reprieve from somebody in their day to, you know, watch sports, which I think, you know, kind of gives us all that mental break of maybe the hustle and bustle of life. And, you know, I got into it. I really loved it. And yeah, I did a complete 180 on what career I wanted to go for, and, you know, really started pursuing sports journalism. And here I am after a crazy journey of switching everything up, and I don't regret it one bit.
So you got your master's degree
Yep.
in journalism from
Syracuse University. Yep.
Okay. And then you decided to make this big shift. I guess, is that kind of a lesson, if anyone's watching, to, you know, maybe not settle for whatever it is you're doing if you've got a dream?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, really cool to have been in a position where I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I really put my, you know, brain towards, what do I want to do? I feel like if you're passionate about something enough that you're willing to put all the hard work and drive into it to go and figure out how am I going to do this and be, you know, something in this profession, then you'll find a way where everything kind of lines up to where you can, you know, make a good living and do what you want to do. And, you know, I was just kind of like, all right, well, I've switched this thing up. I have to make this work, otherwise I'm in a really bad position.
You're going to be successful.
You know, that drive, I think, really took me a long way to becoming the person I am today, and, you know, it's awesome. It's cool.
You touched on it a little bit. You said especially being Indian, and I know that there are more female Asian Americans than males, so that was a big barrier that you had to kind of overcome and not worry about.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, there's been people on like ESPN, like the Anish Shroffs and Kevin Nagandis of the world that I definitely looked up to, you know, growing up. And, you know, a lot of me is just like, when I wanted to be a sports journalist, was like, I can be like them. I felt like they were lucky enough for me that people had already kind of started paving that way for Indians to be in broadcasting. And then, you know, I kind of picked up and kind of carved my own path within it. But it is really cool because there aren't a lot of Indians that do this. You know, like family, friends, like their children will like ask me, hey, like, that's really cool you do journalism. How do I get into stuff like this? Or I'll get random messages on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and from Indian people that are like, hey, I'd really like to get into sports journalism kind of like you, or just connect with me simply because, or message me because they're like, wow, that's really cool that you're representing Indian people in local TV. And, you know, that obviously speaks a lot to me and I think is really cool because, you know, I never really thought of myself of being like this, like, person who's like this, like, I don't want to say trailblazer, but somebody that's on that path, and then people kind of like treat you as such. It's definitely interesting, but, you know, it's really cool to represent Indians on TV in this way. And, you know, a minority of, you know, there's not a lot of us on TV, but, you know, I take a lot of pride in that.
That's neat. And then I was also reading a little bit about your past, and you said it was a basketball game that you watched with your dad. So he's obviously a sports fan, and that Michael Jordan just kind of did it for you, watching him, and the fact that you get to report on NBA stars now. It's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, so to take you all the way back, I was a kid, and me and my sister were like really competitive at playing the CD game. Couldn't tell you the name of it at this point in time. She was getting farther in the game than I was, and I was extremely jealous. I'm just not going to deny that to you. I was. So I took the CD, and I was like, I'm going to hide it so she can't get any farther than me in the game. Or where I put it was on top of like a lamp, like this high lamp in our house. And well, after some time, as you can imagine, it started smoking, and the fire alarm goes off. And my dad was home alone because my mom was out, and he's like, "What's going on? What is that smoke? Where is that coming from?" And I knew immediately where it was, and I told him, and he got it down. Well, I was afraid for my life when my mom was going to come home, the kind of scolding I was getting for doing something as stupid as I did. And so I went and huddled up beside my dad, just like waiting for my mom to come home. My dad just happened to have the TV on sports, and Michael Jordan was playing, and that was the first time I ever watched sports, and I immediately fell in love with it. Started going in my driveway, pretending like I was a basketball player or whatever it might be. And, my passion just kind of ever went from there. But, it's kind of funny and just happenstance. I feel sometimes that the only reason why maybe I started watching sports because my parents really aren't big into sports because I got in trouble. And it's kind of funny how it all worked out in that way.
Yes, we're not advocating that kids get in trouble.
Not advocating burning the house down in any way.
That's so neat. So you've been here 3 weeks. What are some of the things that you've done here? What are some of the areas that you've really taken to?
Yeah, the Padres stuff was obviously really cool. I jumped right in when the playoff push was happening.
That's why it's been 3 weeks for us to do this Get to Know You interview.
It's just been crazy.
You've been out the door and doing all the Padres coverage.
It's like every single time you're like, Karthik, when you can do this? I'll be like, I don't know. I'm going to be somewhere out at Petco Park somewhere. So
yeah, that was fun.
It was a lot of fun. And obviously we wish we could have seen them gone a little farther just because of the magical, second half of the regular season that they had pushing into the playoffs looked like a very dangerous team. But even then, I've had some fun covering San Diego State football. Just did a piece on Trey White and how he's leading the nation in sacks, obviously. He's just had a fantastic season. And, that's something I've always really enjoyed doing through my career is telling these like great player profiles, coach profiles, just athlete profiles of people doing really cool things that inspire other people to do other things. And I think that's just really neat.
Because there is so much more behind these players and these athletes than just what you see on the court or on the field.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you're off the court, when you're off of work, what have you been doing?
Yeah, I just kind of been wandering around. Usually I'm kind of a homebody for the most part, but I'm trying to, I'm in such a beautiful place. I actually was texting somebody the other day and I was like, I almost feel guilty sitting inside and watching sports all day because San Diego is just such a beautiful area. So I've been trying to get out and just kind of venture to different places. I have some buddies that are from San Diego originally but don't live here anymore. So they've been texting me some places I should go see. Obviously, Jake and John up in the sports team have been telling me, some places I should try out and go to. And so, I've just kind of been venturing around, kind of checking out what I can check out and I've been enjoying every part of it.
So what are your teams, like your hometown teams? What do you consider your faves?
So I'm kind of like a mixed batch. I have a lot of family that lives in Cleveland, Ohio, and so my uncle is kind of the big sports fan in our family, and so he would take me to now the Guardians game. So very excited. And when we're recording this, Guardians had an epic comeback against the Yankees after almost blowing the lead. I thought the season was over for a little bit. I had to come back a little bit.
Yes.
So that was one. Just growing up in Tennessee, my dad actually took me to Tennessee Titans games when I was younger, and so I kind of, have always had like this affinity for the Titans ever, since the Steve McNair, Eddie George days, and then back to Cleveland for the NBA. The Cavaliers are my team there. So, I'm kind of like a little bit of a smorgasbord with the Ohio, family, but from Tennessee ties. And so kind of pick and choose, but those are the main one I pull for.
What do you think about the Chargers being, up the coast now?
Yeah, obviously that's a tough spot for a lot of people I know. And, I know a lot of people that are still fans. I know people that are just complete hatred for the Chargers now. And, it is definitely interesting, but I think like in this day and age with anything with sports and really just anything in general, it's about following the money. When you go to a place like LA, it's about TV deals and just a bigger market and things of that nature. So, I'm not going to say that validates the move of them moving. The business side is the business side of things and why they do. I think it really obviously is just a terrible thing for these fans that they've lost a sports team that they cared about so much, and there were so many passionate people in this area that pull behind. And it's like, we just saw the Oakland Athletics. They're getting ready to leave. And, it's terrible for them too, because you have generations of fans that pull for that team. And really, sports is different, right? Like when you love a sports team, it's almost like loving a family member in a lot of ways. Like you're ride or die with that team. And so, for a team to leave that area, it's obviously really tough. And I hate it because it seems like such a talking point still to this day. You even mentioned the Chargers and people will bring up their disdain, the fact that team moved, and that's always tough to hear.
Yeah, you kind of have to gauge, like, are you going to be mad?
Yeah.
Are you going to be okay with it? Not quite sure. So what's the most used app on your phone?
Man, I'm big on TikTok, big on Instagram.
Okay,
I just
all
like
right.
sorting through like
so
reels. Don't follow me.
Karthik.
Both I'm private on, but
You just like to spend your time on
But that's
there.
where I spend my time,
Okay.
kind of like. If I'm just sitting on my phone unwinding, I love Twitter. That's the one you can follow me on at @KarthikV_.
Okay, the
That's
new
the one.
X.
That's X. That's the one that I'm a little more professional on, if you would say.
Okay.
And I do like it. I think all those different platforms have just different things to them. I also play this game 2048 on my phone where you kind of just match numbers. I don't know.
yes.
It's a little hard to explain,
Yes.
but I enjoy playing that game too. So just anything that will kind of like take my mind off of like real world for 10, 15 minutes, hopefully at max. I don't like to be on there for too long and kind of just wind down a little bit. So.
And what have you found to be your favorite eating spot here?
Oh man. So I've gone to a couple of places. I've gone to this place called Taste of Himalaya. So obviously, being Indian, I love Indian food, so I got to find what the best Indian food
Right,
place
tell
is.
me,
Taste of Himalayas is really good. So they have 2 locations that I know of. One's in Carlsbad, and then one's on University Avenue. And I've loved it. I've been there actually twice now since I've been here 3 weeks because I liked it so
That's
much.
great.
And the food was great. It's like Tibetan, Nepali, and Indian mixed. It's just so good. I've really liked it. But hey, I tried a California burrito for the first time the other day.
With the fries.
That was absolutely phenomenal too. So I'm just trying to figure out what all the eateries around this area
That's
are.
great.
I need to find some more tacos. I think that's the next move.
Yes,
So
lots of tacos to
Yeah.
try. Plenty of tacos to try. And then what do you do for your workout regimen?
yeah, I try to get on the elliptical and run in the mornings. When I was back home, I was lifting weights and running. I haven't really quite found a gym yet, so I'm trying to figure that out. But
And look at the beautiful landscape we have. You can just go outside.
for sure,
outdoors,
yeah,
right?
there's that too. So I have a nice little view. Like, so there's a gym at the top of my apartment. There's a nice little
that's
view over
nice.
like San Diego. You can kind of see downtown in the distance and stuff. So I try and get up on there and like kind of peek outside and hit it, and then whatever. I like to walk and go on walks. I know that's not as like workout as much, but just like kind of get out of the house and do
great.
things of that. That's
A lot
I
of
like
great
doing
hiking
stuff.
locations
Yeah, for
here.
sure. I'm excited for
Carlene's a
that.
big hiker, so you could ask her
Okay.
about some good locations. You have to go to Potato Chip Rock. That's kind of an
Okay.
iconic place for you to go take your picture.
Okay.
Any questions that you want to ask of me?
Yeah, let's hear about you, Marcella. I know the people know
No,
about
this is not a
you,
get
but
to
let's
know
hear your life
Marcella.
story.
No,
Come on
no.
down
I mean,
now.
I've been here 20 years, and it's a great place to work. And we're just so thrilled to have you on the sports team.
Yeah, I think that's what I've loved about it so much. When I was trying to pick where I wanted to go next, more than like what I get to cover, what mattered to me more is like fit with people and like how much that would matter. Because, I've been lucky to never have worked in like a toxic work environment or stuff like that, but I hear horror stories from everybody. So my big thing was like, where am I going to go where I really feel like I'm going to fit? And everyone here has been obviously so wonderful. And I think for that, I'm already super grateful. Like the city could be terrible and it's not, but it could be, and I'd still be happy simply because I have great people that I work with. So
I think one telling sign is if you look around, I mean, John Howard's been here longer than I have. I've been here 20 years. He's been here, I think, almost 30. Jake's been here for a long time. And so many of our staff, when you see the longevity, you know that it's a good place to work.
for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I did hear you sing a little bit during one of your sports. You want to like sing us out?
I'm
like
good.
What?
No, you're going to have to watch me on CBS 8. I'll drop in some bars here and there. I'll sing. I almost had Joe Dreams in me. Almost, he almost tempted me to throw some bars down.
Oh, come on, come on, to end our little get to know you, just
Just gonna have to watch CBS 8.
Okay, it's just not spontaneous enough, right?
It's just got to be an in the moment.
gotta be.
Sometimes I'll write a line.
Okay.
I didn't even mean to sing it, but then I'll just like
You'll just-
almost forget what I was supposed to say, and then like as like a nervous tick, I may just start singing. So watch
right.
CBS 8. It'll happen here soon, I promise.
Okay, all right. Well, Karthik, it's so nice to have you here as part of the team. Thanks for spending time with
Yeah,
us.
thanks for spending time with me.
Get to know you.
Yeah.
All right, see you next time.